something that
Oh,
we
and
can
then we'll
probably
miss,
edit.
yeah, we'll
You
miss
know?
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So you got
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So
Is that
that's
a
it.
good
I
angle?
think maybe you need to go up a little bit to get his whole head.
Okay.
Yeah, right there.
There you go. Okay.
Cool.
So who wants to start? Me?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
think.
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
if you want to. Sure.
So why don't you tell us about your experience growing up and what was your first major job that you had in your life?
Okay, first of all, my name is Samuel Mark, and I'm basically from Louisiana. I was born in a small town called Bogalusa and raised in New Orleans. I was born in 49, and basically in the 50s, I was a young child, and I went to school in Bogalusa till I was, Bogalusa was a small town, mill town in the in the southern part of Louisiana. And after that, we moved to New Orleans, and I went to school in New Orleans. I went from junior high school to high school in New Orleans, and I dropped out of high school, and I went into the military. Actually, I was drafted. Once I was drafted, I got in a line, and they wanted me to go into the Army, but they gave me a choice, so I chose the Marine Corps. So I spent 2 years in the Marine Corps. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I stayed there 2 years. And after I got out of the Marine Corps, basically I went to work at different jobs, American Cancer Society. I stayed in Los Angeles, by the way, because this was the place for me. I was going back to New Orleans. This big city. I was kind of mesmerized, and I liked it here. And I met my wife, and we had 2 kids. 3 kids, actually, during that time. As far as the media, back in the 50s, we basically listened to radio the early part of my life because we didn't have a television. We got a television in the mid-50s, which was limited to like 3 channels.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And it went off at 12 o'clock at night. So
That was it.
that was it. We didn't have cable, but we still listened to the radio because most of the big news conference like fights and stuff like that came on the radio because we didn't have pay-per-view. That was like it is now. So like the Muhammad Ali fight and when he fought Sonny Liston back in the 60s, we listened to that on the radio. And the television shows that I listened to that I looked at when I was in the elementary school and about then was like Howdy Doody. And we had quite a few things that we listened to.
So they cut off at 12 o'clock, but what time did they come back on?
It came on like 6 o'clock, from 6 to 12. That's when the television shows were.
Yeah, what kind of programs did you listen to? Was it more entertainment, music, talk, or? I know you looked at the fights, but.
Yeah, football. We had football on television. That came on television. We had Amos and Andy, which was a comic.
You was talking about Amos and Andy. Yeah.
Comic. I Love Lucy.
Okay.
Some of the older shows. We listened to
And when did they
Job at 5.
What times did they come on?
These basically came on. Some of them came on like weekly on a Friday or Saturday night or Saturday evening. But like Amos and Andy came on day. That was a daily series. They came on like 9 o'clock, and it was like about an hour. It wasn't a continuous series, but every day they had something different that was coming on. Not like today, you have series and stuff.
So, why did you like them? What shows did you like, and why did you like them?
I like the Ed Sullivan Show. I like that. What was this guy's name? He just died not long ago. It was a dance segment where he introduced a lot of black artists. You guys probably wouldn't know, but there's a big controversy about his life now.
Bill Cosby?
Well,
He's a
Bill
white
Cosby
guy.
is-
He's a white
No,
guy.
no, Bill Cosby's like
He used
the
to host.
80s.
He used to host.
Oh, sorry.
He used to host the New Year's.
Oh,
When New Year's comes in.
I forget what his name. You said he passed away.
Yeah, he passed away, and
What's his
they're arguing
name?
about his estate right now. I can't think of his name. But anyway, everybody know who I'm talking about because he used to do the countdown for the New Year's every year.
Okay. I think I know you talking about too. Now, do you remember anything about the early radio commercials?
Commercials?
Yeah, what they were advertising.
Yeah, a lot of the advertising was about soap,
So,
Tide. Even Ronald Reagan used to advertise about borax, 20-butene borax, cleaning stuff. The Maytag machine, washing machines, and what else was there? There were a lot of commercials back then, and toys, and Popeye was advertising spinach.
spinach.
I don't know.
I remember that. I don't have to do it, but I remember like talks about that.
Yeah.
Do you remember any public concern about radio commercials?
Well, it wasn't like today. Back in the day, the commercials were restricted. You didn't have like commercials like Charmin and about tampons and Kotex and all those type of things. If they did talk about them, they talked about them in a generic way, not as explicit. And there was no cussing, and no nudity.
Was it like the FCC or
Yeah, it was regulated.
regulated?
Yeah, definitely regulated. It had strict regulations. And
Do you remember any educational radio programs?
educational radio programs, well, like I said, we had like Howdy Doody. They came on and they taught the kids the ABCs and how to talk, and Captain Kangaroo, and some of the, they have quite a few educational programs that came on back during that time.
And what about technical problems? What technical problems did you experience with your radio set?
Well, we frequently had like blackouts. We had static. We had couldn't get it on this channel, and we had to antenna problem. We had to go outside. We had an antenna on the roof, and we had to go outside and turn the channel this way. And being down south, we had a lot of rains and high winds and stuff like that caused a lot of static in the radio and TV.
Okay. Do you have some specific memories, good or bad, about listening to the radio when you were young? And what are they?
Well, listening to the radio was a soothing method of keeping yourself abreast of things and to know what's the latest dance and the latest music that was coming on. And that like Jive at 5, like I was talking about, it introduced a lot of blacks into the mainstream, and a lot of black artists that were basically
Like Jackson 5, was that?
the Jackson 5s, James Brown, Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell, a lot of the artists. And we actually got a chance to see a lot of the segregation that was going on during that time, like in the 60s and the 50s, the Martin Luther King movement, and as well as the Civil Rights movement. But it had a lot to do with equal rights for black people and to get them started and the movement, and to let everybody know around the world what was going on, particularly like when the civil rights movement when they were beating black people and sicking dogs on
The
it,
fire
doing the water
hoses.
hoses.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So that gave a conscience of what was happening in the world, what was happening in those little small places like Alabama, Selma, Alabama, Mississippi, George Wallace. Yeah.
So, what was it like when FM radio became available, and or what if what FM and AM stations did you listen to growing up?
I can't remember the WYLD. We had the Tennessee Ernie Ford. They had a Tennessee station. I forgot his name, but anyway, everybody used to listen to him because he played a lot of the oldies but goodies, and he played music that was basically germane to blacks and whites and Hispanic. Everybody listened to it. In fact, nowadays when I listen to when I'm traveling, I'm listening to what's the guy's name that's on the radio, and mostly he's talking to people that are in prison and stuff like that. But anyway, I get a chance. He's still playing a lot of the oldies, and a lot of Hispanics are requesting to hear those sounds back in the 50s and 60s. You know?
Oldies, right? Okay, so television and cable. What was it like when TV became available? So transitioning from radio to now you got TV set. What did it look like? Was it like a box with like a?
Well, when we first got a television, it was in black and white.
Okay.
And like I said, we had like 3 channels, and then it went off at a certain time. But as we transitioned, television became more and more. We got cable, and we got pay-per-view. We got all kind of stuff that helped to get more programming and to see what was actually live, you know, with television. We got the helicopters and stuff that was doing live television right there.
Was it like chases, police chases?
Not so much police chases, it was like stuff that was happening. Back in the 60s, they didn't have too many police chases with helicopters. But in the
Like
70s and 80s and 90s and up to now, they do a lot of chases. But they didn't have it. But they covered a lot of news that was happening like now. Fires, bank robberies, shootings, interviewing people.
Where did you watch your first TV programs, and what was the viewing experience like?
The first TV program, I guess I was about 4 or 5, I think, when I first saw TV, and it was at a friend's house down the street because we didn't have a television. And I was excited because this was something that I had never seen before, and I was going to the first grade, and I wanted us to have a television. So I think that same year we got a television in our house. And it was something that kept us busy.
Did a lot of people have TV sets?
There were very few. In the early 50s, there were very few people that had television sets. In fact, I'd say in my town, it was like about 10 or 12 people out in my community that had television sets.
So how much did your family's first television set cost, and what factors or figures into it to purchase it?
Well, back during that time, a television set would cost about $35 for a brand new television set. And
That's crazy inflation.
and the average wage was probably about 75 cents an hour or something like that. So it wasn't that expensive. My dad worked at the paper mill, so he was making about 75 cents an hour. So that was considered a good wage for that time.
What was the reception like on the television?
The reception was, I guess during that time it was good, but we had to go outside and turn the air, or we didn't have. Now, as they progressed, they got remote control for the antenna so that it turned by itself. with the push of a button. You turn this way, turn it that way until your reception came out. But when we first got it, we had to go outside and turn it this way, and then somebody hollered through the window and say, "Turn it the other way."
Yeah. Okay. What was a typical family viewing session like?
All of us had our special programs, and basically we had a program where the whole family would sit around the television and watch television at this particular time, particularly like Amos and Andy. We would sit there and we'd all watch it because this came on one time a day, and this is probably the one movie that you wanted to watch.
How did TV change your home life?
TV changed the home life in that when we were outside playing marbles and playing jump rope and stick pony and all that type of stuff, instead of being outside at certain times, then we would give that up and come inside and watch the program. So it kind of limited our physical exit, family time.
What do you remember about the corporate sponsors of TV shows?
Basically, like I said, with Borax and places like that, they sponsored the shows, and the TV commercials were basically limited to 1 minute. Now you get 5 to 10 minutes. You get 5 to 10 minutes of commercial. They came on like every 15, 20 minutes, and now they come in like every 10 minutes. And they had restrictions on what the commercial could be like too. And they would sponsor certain movies. They wouldn't sponsor all the movies.
So what, if anything, do you remember about the quiz show scandal?
Quiz show scandal. Well, back in, I guess, I don't remember much about the quiz shows.
I'm looking it up.
We'll come back to that. What do you remember about the first 30-second TV commercials?
The first 30-second TV commercial, I remember that we used to hate them. Because basically the commercials, they came on when you had the highlight of suspense, when you're getting ready to something. It's like a cliffhanger. You want to see it and you're ready to go, and here comes a commercial they catch you on that high.
How do your television experiences in the 1950s compare with your television experiences now?
Well, the television commercials in the 50s were basically limited to like a minute, and the ones now are like infinite, and there are more of them, and they're more brass. They have more details that are not suitable for children, and you look at it and you want to say, wow, how could they put this on television? They might show somebody on a toilet or...
Yeah. The worst part is, back then we would all watch the TV together. There was only one TV, but now everybody has a TV probably in their bedroom, so if your kid could be watching whatever in there.
You don't know what they're watching.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, and I saw apparently the American quiz show scandal of the 1950s were a series of revelations that a lot of contestants on quiz shows were
they were giving answers.
Yeah, they were giving they were
Price
like
is Right.
They were like working with the producers of the show.
Yeah, they wanted to make sure that everybody got it right. And one of them was the Motown. What was the name of that? The show where everybody with the black dancers.
Soul Train.
Soul Train.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
Soul Train. I didn't want to.
Soul Train.
Okay.
Yeah, when they had that.
The memory jogger or something.
Name the artist or something like that. They get up there. Nobody ever missed it. Then come to find out that they were giving them the answers.
Okay. So staged.
Yeah.
Yep.
Staged. Nobody liked that, right? Okay, so if you have it, how did you decide to get cable or satellite TV, and what factors went into this decision?
Well, I have cable, and the reason I got cable was because I guess my horizon expanded. I wanted to see more. I like things like boxing. If you don't have boxing, if you don't have the cable channel, then you can't get boxing. You can't just get a cable, sports. And I like to watch movies,
Yeah.
HBO and Cinemax,
ESPN.
ESPN. So you have a package, and you want to be in the know. So you want to keep up with, you want to know what everybody else knows, and you get these 200, 300 channels, but you only look at maybe a few of those, but you have them.
Okay, anybody else want to ask any questions?
Alright, cool.
I asked
Yeah.
all the radio